the station working for you. This is WRTV News at 7, streaming now.
Now at 7, good news about a possible coronavirus vaccine. It could be a game changer, but COVID-19 cases and deaths are soaring across the country. Meanwhile, Joe Biden announces a team to tackle the pandemic. Thanks for joining us here at 7 o'clock. I'm Mark Mullins.
And I'm Amanda Starantino. Tonight, COVID-19 cases, emergency room visits, and hospital admissions are all trending upward, and that's according to the Regent Street Institute, which keeps track of state health department data. Today, the department reported an additional 4,200 positive cases and 34 additional deaths. Indiana's overall positivity rate is up to 11.8%. And as of yesterday, 2,174 COVID patients were in Indiana hospitals. ABC's Faith Abube has the latest on the potentially game-changing results of a COVID vaccine test.
Pfizer says the vaccine was at least 90% effective, according to an early analysis. But more safety data is needed before the company asks the FDA for authorization.
We feel very good about the safe.
Pfizer could ask the FDA for a narrow authorization later this month. If authorized, a limited supply of doses could be available for healthcare workers in high-risk populations in a matter of months, and the general population by late summer 2021.
Well, it's exciting news. It's not going to help us this winter, but it could be a real game changer.
However, a potential vaccine won't help right now, as new coronavirus cases soar at an alarming rate. Over the weekend, the United States hitting a record 128,000 new cases in just one day, according to Johns Hopkins University. Multiple states also recording their highest new daily COVID-19 cases.
We have reached a very dangerous phase in the pandemic in the upper Midwest and now into Minnesota.
The governor of Minnesota announcing a new push for testing, while in Utah, a state of emergency.
I am placing the entire state of Utah under a mask mandate until further notice.
In Washington, D.C., HUD Secretary and Coronavirus Task Force member Dr. Ben Carson, among the latest in the president's orbit to test positive for the coronavirus. Carson and White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, who's also fighting the virus, both attended Trump's election night watch party at the White House. And just this afternoon, ABC News confirming David Bossie, an outside advisor leading the Trump campaign's legal challenges, also now has the virus. Meanwhile, in Delaware, President-elect Joe Biden unveiling his task force to work on curbing the pandemic.
I will spare no effort to turn this pandemic around once we're sworn in on January 20th.
And new data from the National Institutes of Health shows hydroxychloroquine, a treatment repeatedly touted by the president, actually does not benefit adult patients hospitalized with COVID-19. Faith Abube, ABC News, Washington.
Today, President-elect Joe Biden met with his coronavirus task force, which will advise him on the pandemic during the transition. Biden welcomed progress on the vaccine while urging Americans to embrace masks to curb the growing spread of the virus.
Please, I implore you, wear a mask. Do it for yourself. Do it for your neighbor. A mask is not a political statement, but it is a good way to start pulling the country together.
The president-elect stressed his response will be guided by science. His coronavirus task force is led by a former U.S. Surgeon General, former FDA commissioner, and a Yale University professor.
The Better Business Bureau is warning people not to fall for fake coronavirus studies. According to the BBB, scammers are sending out text messages promoting fake clinical trials. The emails claim the study pays upwards of $1,000. All you have to do is click on the link to take part. But once you click on the link, the BBB says malware downloads onto your computer or mobile device. Scammers use the malware to access your usernames, passwords, and other personal info. Even if the link takes you to a website, it may not be a real clinical trial, especially if they ask for personal info like government ID or bank account numbers. The BBB explains that real medical researchers would never ask for that kind of info during a screening. And relief tonight for some Whitestown residents after a rezoning request has withdrawn. They were concerned the rezoning would have led to warehouses being built right up along their backyards. The Whitestown Plan Commission was expected to discuss the issue tonight, whether to rezone about 365 acres of land from agricultural to light industry and allow for warehouses to be built. The proposed warehouse project by GDI companies would have been located on the south side of County Road 300 South and the west side of County Road 575 East. With all the growth Whitestown is seeing right now, these His neighbors say they are losing the agricultural small-town feel. But tonight, we have learned the petitioner withdrew the rezoning request. We have not learned whether the request will be refiled at a later date.
2 days in a row, we've had record high temperatures. You realize we'll have a third tomorrow. We'll be very competitive with the record high of 75. Made it to 78 today, obviously dry, and we accomplished that with a decent amount of cloud cover. Temperatures are still in the low 70s in many spots, from Boone down to Hendricks and Morgan County, 66 off to the east in Hancock County, 67 in Greenfield. You see what I see, right? Look at that cold air in the blue on the upper left of your screen, 25 in Bismarck, North Dakota. Well, it's mid-60s temporarily in central Iowa. Tomorrow, one more day, very mild temperatures. We'll be at 75 for the high. Watch what happens, though, as that colder air will sweep in while you sleep in to Wednesday morning. If you sleep too long, then maybe you'll miss the low temperature for the day, but I don't think we'll really warm up that much. Lower 50s for your temperature on Wednesday. We'll talk about the timing of some rain coming up.
Health officials continue to warn that COVID will likely become even more widespread in the winter months. WRTV's Cornelius Hawker spoke to small business owners who are concerned about the impact that this next wave will have on their businesses, as some of them are just getting back on their feet.
I definitely have anxiety when the numbers rise.
Meredith Fry has reason to worry because she just opened her business, Indy Fused Glass, in January.
I just really started to get going, and then, of course, like everybody else, big downturn, shut down, wasn't able to come in at all.
8 months into this pandemic, Meredith is back open, eager for customers.
It's nice to see people finally here and feeling comfortable enough to come out.
And doing everything she can to make her space as safe as possible.
I have people take their temperature before they come in. I do a little self-screening. They fill out a form. Have they been around anybody who's been sick? Got hand sanitizer.
Meredith's business is in the Circle City Industrial Complex, home to several small businesses. All of them happy to see people out for the complex's first Friday. Meredith tells me this is the biggest one they've had since the pandemic began. Her fingers are crossed that people continue taking the necessary precautions to slow the spread of COVID-19. She doesn't want to think about the alternative if things don't get better, and our elected leaders have to intervene like they did in the spring.
I will say, if there's another shutdown, I'll be done. I don't think I could withstand a second shutdown.
Working for you, Cornelius Hawker, WRTV.
The Circle City Industrial Complex is also home to the Indy Winter Farmers Market, which opened for the season Saturday. The market was forced to close early back in the spring due to the pandemic. There are new COVID-19 precautions in place. The first hour every Saturday is reserved for people 65 and older, or people who are immune compromised. Masks and social distancing is required at the Circle City Industrial Complex. The Indy Winter Farmers Market is hosted by Growing Places Indy, a nonprofit on the Near East Side that focuses on wellness through urban agriculture and access to fresh local food.
Not only do you get to actually talk to the farmers who actually grew your food in the city that you live in, but you actually know where it came from. When you go to the grocery store, you don't know how long tomatoes traveled to get here, or where they came from, and how many hands actually touched the produce. We have a triple SNAP program, so we know with COVID, there's been an increase in people using SNAP cards, and formerly known as food stamps. So if you come to the market and you swipe your card for $20, we'll match that $40. So you'll have a total of $60 to shop with.
The farmers market is open every Saturday from 9 a.m. until 12:30 p.m. until April 24th.
Still ahead on the news at 7, friends, family, and former contestants are sharing their memories about Alex Trebek and the legacy he leaves behind.
But first, child care providers and parents say a state contractor is putting them in a bind. WRTV Investigates is getting answers about what is being done to help families.
Parents and child care providers are raising concerns about a state contractor not answering the phone and not processing vouchers. They reached out to WRTV Investigates for help. Daycare providers and parents say the state's CCDF eligibility contractor, Maximus, has been slow to recertify and process vouchers. This is federal money that helps low-income families afford child care. Long hold times on the phone and online chat are also a concern. Now, this means many parents can't afford to pay full price. Tots R Us on the east side has already lost 15 families off their CCDF roster, which is costing the business about $5,000 a month.
And it's like a domino effect. If they can't pay out of pocket, they can't work. If they can't work, they can't feed their kids. So it's a domino effect, and it's very important. And I just feel like, you know, I don't know if Maxima's staff need more training, more staff, you know, so wherever the help is needed, we should get help fast, everybody.
Maximus told us, quote, the combination of the global pandemic and multiple open enrollments to address the child care needs of families post-COVID have resulted in longer than normal wait times. Maximus immediately implemented several improvements to process applications more quickly. We have increased staffing, established new procedures and processes, and introduced digital enhancements designed to help individuals access services in a timely manner, end quote. The Virginia-based company Maximus has been the state's eligibility contractor since October of 2019. They can be paid up to $5.1 million a year, depending on the number of Indiana families they serve. FSSA is asking providers with concerns to reach out to their Office of Early Childhood and Out-of-School Learning. That number is 317-232-7112, or you can email carrie.gray@fssa.in.gov.
Mark, dry and warm. That's how you describe this evening. Tomorrow evening, we'll be staring at radar. We'll talk about the timing of some rain, maybe thunderstorms as well.
Welcome back. Several grassroots groups worked hard to boost black women's voter turnout in the 2020 election. Newsy's Amber Strong introduces us to a few of those organizers.
We stand with Joe Biden.
From leading the conversation at the Democratic National Convention to the sorority push, women of color have been hard to dismiss this election. While total numbers won't be available for some time, exit polling shows 9 in 10 black women voted for Democrat Joe Biden.
What happened in 2016 is the Democratic Party took us for granted, didn't do specific outreach, embrace a lot of the issues very important to us. And although our percentages were high, our numbers were not.
In 2018, Amy Allison founded She the People to help get women of color to the polls, lasering in on states where black women could sway the overall vote. Something else happened in 2018. Stacey Abrams.
We are writing a history of a Georgia where we prosper together.
The fact that the reliably red state of Georgia is headed to 1, possibly 2 Senate runoffs is being credited to the former gubernatorial candidate who lost her election bid 2 years ago. After the loss, she formed Fair Fight, a group that works to combat voter suppression.
She offered a new playbook. She ran her gubernatorial campaign with that playbook by early investment in not only the engagement of people of color, but bringing in and inspiring voters and assembling a multiracial coalition.
But she wasn't alone. Minority women across the country were getting out the vote.
I feel like a job well done. Like I did my part. I think we all did our part.
Earlier this year, Newsy spoke to Maya Guy, founder of Suburban Women for Kamala Harris. Her group amassed more than 216,000 members and raised $22,000 for the campaign, a modest amount, but one that demonstrates grassroots support. The mother of 5 says the realization that Harris could be the first black female vice president isn't lost on her.
I feel like it's about time. I think it's actually ridiculous that it took this long. The standard should have never been white male and privilege, and that has been the standard.
Now, in the history of this country, there have only been 2 black female senators, one being Kamala Harris. Both Guy and Allison tell me the country has a lot of work to do when it comes to black women in leadership roles, but this is a start. Amber Strong, Newsy, Northern Virginia.
Just about 7:20 now, and of course I've been talking about the colder temperatures. We won't feel the colder air until Wednesday. We've got 24 hours here where temperatures will push record warmth again by early tomorrow afternoon. Then tomorrow night, along a cold front, the chance for a thunderstorm or two. We'll keep our eye on the potential for some severe storms. Temperatures obviously colder, 20-degree drop as we get to Wednesday. As the game plan goes through the week, there's the ups and downs. Basically, we stay down closer to average the rest of the week after tomorrow's high temperature. 75 is the record setback in the 1900s, 1949, I think, off the top of my head. There's the cold front. It cuts through Minneapolis, St. Paul, central Iowa, and then back into the Plain States. Very cold air behind that. A thin line of some showers and thunderstorms along the cold front that will continue to push to the east-southeast. There are temperatures right now in Indy, 71, 68 in Kokomo, otherwise 72 degrees, a good number, above the average high for the day. And here we are in the evening. Temperatures tomorrow in the 70s. Our rain chances steadily climb, especially tomorrow evening, and they go up later tomorrow night into the early morning hours. That's when our chances will peak. There are the temperatures out ahead of the cloud cover that will thicken and the rain that will arrive, but that'll be well after sunset. 7 o'clock, rain back in Illinois. 9 o'clock, pushing the state line, entering northwest Indiana. By 11, you can see it just to the west of Indy. 1 o'clock in the morning east. Notice how thin that line is. Severe threat would include damaging wind, but on an isolated basis, if we can mix down some of the stronger winds, it will already be windy. The threat, the marginal or low risk, is back in Illinois for tomorrow right now. I wouldn't be surprised if the Storm Prediction Center pushes that a little more to the east during the day tomorrow. Rainfall will be rather minimal, 1/10 of an inch or less in many spots, because the system will move so quickly. I show you the arrows out of the northwest driving into colder temperatures during the day Wednesday. We'll be lucky to hit the mid-50s. We'll be in the 30s as you get started Thursday morning. 50s for highs until Sunday. Then we're back to 62. With that newfound warmth on Sunday, our rain chance will climb back to about 40%. Mark?
Kevin, thank you. And now to the loss of a beloved television legend. Alex Trebek, the longtime host of the game show Jeopardy, died early Sunday after a public battle with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Today we're hearing from some of his closest friends on the legacy and love Trebek leaves behind.
Here is the host of Jeopardy, Alex Trebek.
Alex Trebek was a part of America's nightly TV routine for 36 years.
Alex Trebek.
Spending the last 2 pairing his beloved wit and charm.
Let's look at the $1,000 clue just for the fun of it.
With transparency, as the humble host of Jeopardy waged a painful battle with stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Now, normally the prognosis for this is not very encouraging, but I'm going to fight this.
That fight ended Sunday when the TV icon died peacefully at home, surrounded by family and friends. So many loved ones now sharing their memories. Jeopardy legend Ken Jennings writing, "He was a lovely and deeply decent man." Actress Ruta Lee expressing the same and saying Trebek was still upbeat when they last spoke on Friday.
It was a wonderful conversation. It was filled with humor. You know that his best features were his wild sense of humor and his fabulous loyalty.
And former game show host Peter Marshall sharing their parting words.
I knew that he wasn't doing very well, but I didn't know that it was so imminent. I said, just remember, I love you. And he said, I love you too, Petey.
With love is how Trebek will be remembered by those who knew him personally and the millions of Americans who just felt like they did.
He's a nice guy, and I like him. And if that's the way they remember me down the line, perfectly happy with that.
Trebek's last day recording new episodes was October 29th. Those will continue airing through Christmas. Marcy Gonzalez, ABC News, Los Angeles. One of the first fireworks celebrations seen around the world on New Year's Eve is being scaled back this year because of the pandemic. Sydney, Australia's display will last just a few minutes this year to help enforce social distancing for the crowds that come out to see it in person. Prime viewing spots are being reserved for frontline workers.
I bet you it will still be spectacular, the grand finale for that whole shortened period of time. Grand finale for our temperatures tomorrow, 75 in the afternoon, much cooler after some rain Tuesday night. We'll be in the 50s Wednesday.
Back to reality there. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for joining us for WRTV News at 7. We'll see you back here tonight at 11.